Spanda Karika Verse 23. Yam avastam samalambya yadyam mama vakshayati tadavashyam karishyaham iti sankalpya tishtati. From personal will to divine will. Let us listen carefully. Established in that state, one remains with the resolver. Whatever that directs, that alone I shall do. This verse marks a profound turning point in the Spanda Karika. Until now, the teachings has been helping us recognizing the source. We have examined the self and the non-self. We have explored waking, dream and deep sleep. We have distinguished the changing from the unchanging. We have recognized Spanda in the midst of life. And now something extraordinary happens. Recognition begins to mature into surrender. The seeker has spent many verses trying to understand. Now understanding becomes trust. The mind bows before direct knowing. The separate self begins to relax its grip. The verse begins, Yam avastam samalambya. Having taken refuge in that state, what is this state? It is the state revealed through the previous verses, the state of awareness, the state of Spanda, the state in which one recognizes the source behind all thoughts, emotions, perceptions and actions. Up to this point, the seeker was still operating through effort. There was observation, there was discrimination, there was practice, there was inquiry. Now, a new movement begins, the movement of surrender. Ordinarily, our life is governed by countless personal intentions. I want this, I do not want that, this should happen, that should not happen. The mind continuously produces plans, preferences, fears and expectations. This constant activity creates the sense of separate doer, a separate controller, a separate self. This verse invites us to examine that assumption. Who is this I that believes it controls everything? Who is this individual carrying the burden of entire universe? The seeker begins to see that the same intelligence that moves the stars, grows the trees, beats the heart and sustains life is already present within. A deeper wisdom is functioning. A deeper intelligence is available. A deeper current is flowing. And therefore, the attitude changes. Not into passivity, not into laziness, not into fatalism, but into alignment. The seeker says, whatever arises from that deeper source, I shall follow. Not my conditioning, not my fears, not my compulsions, but that. This is not surrender to something outside. It is surrender to one's own deepest nature. The wave ceases struggling against the ocean. The individual ceases struggling against consciousness. This is why your own efforts in the earlier verses were necessary. Without recognition, surrender becomes blind belief. But after recognition, surrender becomes natural. It becomes intelligent. It becomes joyful. The separate self begins to soften. The constant need to control begins to weaken. The burden of personal doership begins to dissolve. And a profound trust appears. In Kashmir Shaivism, this is not the disappearance of the action. Action continues. In fact, action may become more effective. But it is no longer driven by anxiety. It is no longer driven by the small ego. The action becomes participation in a larger intelligence. A flute does not create the music. It allows the music. A clear mirror does not create the reflection. It allows the reflection. Similarly, the awakened seeker becomes available to the movement of Spanda. This is why the verse is so beautiful. It is not merely talking about obedience. It is talking about resonance, living in harmony with the source, allowing one's own life to become an expression of the deeper reality already present within. The mind no longer asks, "What do I want?" Instead, a subtler question appears: "What is life asking of me now? What is Spanda expressing through this moment?" When this shift happens, something remarkable occurs. Conflict begins to decrease, resistance begins to decrease, the inner divisions between self and life begins to dissolve. The seeker starts moving with existence rather than against it. This is the beginning of the true freedom, acceptance. Not the freedom to do whatever the ego desires, but the freedom that comes when the ego is no longer the center. The freedom of alignment, the freedom of participation, the freedom of surrender. And so the verse leaves us with simple invitation. Recognize the source, trust the source, align with the source, and allow your life to become a living expression of Spanda. Then personal will gradually merges into divine will. The small I relaxes, the big I shines forth. Om.